and sand goes out from these gaps. So in this case, the defense is to close only these gaps in the natural reef to stabilize the coast without any construction on the shore. Another area like this, we have an archaeological site here which is collapsing in the sea, and the reason is that the reef here, you see, protect this area but create accumulation of water here, and water and the sediments goes out through these gaps. And in the you cannot see here, but we see from the bathymetric maps, we have two canyons. One is here and one is here, which are the sink for sediments. So the project is to close these canyons, which are not very deep, you see 3 meters here, and fill the beach after the closure of this. This is a very friendly, environmentally friendly solution because you see anything from the beach. The problem of detachable breakwater is that they create wave reflection, and the same problem you have with seawalls. If you create island, round island like this, the reflection is not in phase with incoming waves. You have a dissipation of reflected energy, and you can create a small salient or a tombolo, and if you well design the structure, you have sediment overpassing the structure during storm, so you have only a reduction in wave energy. You don't intercept sediment, and they work quite well. Like these were built in the 70s in Liguria, and the beach is stable after that. I added only one picture, but I have many of artificial structures protecting the beach and inducing surfable waves. You have one at the narrow neck, and it seems to work. Here is a project I have seen in India, and we have a project in Italy. We are discussing if we can realize it. I think it's very difficult to find a solution to protect the coast. Even more difficult is to find a solution which protects the coast and make people surfing. So I'm not very confident with this solution, but when they built them, like in Narrowneck, it works quite well. You have a numerical model showing that this reef create a salient along the beach here. Third solution, intercept sediment transport along the shore, which is the easiest. You have longshore transport in this direction, you create a groin, you have deposition updrift, but you have erosion downdrift. One could say, okay, I compensate. No, because after this accretion, sediments to overpass the tip of the structure are in deeper water, and part of them are lost offshore. So the surface you gain from one side is lower than the surface you lost on the other side. You see, after the growing here, they had to create here a riprap to protect the coast. This is what we have done in Italy. Also here, there are more, I counted them, there are 216, one after the other, for kilometers of coast. And they do not protect. These are too narrow, and sediment cannot enter, but can exit. So they lose sediments after the construction of this. You can create very oblique, like this, any shape. T-groins, they protect better, but they don't allow sediment to enter, so you must nourish the beach very frequently. Different shape in Bulgaria. Anyway, anywhere you find any new solutions. A problem is that they induce rip currents. You see this? It's very evident. So it's dangerous for swimmers. You can have very short groins if you have a gravel beach, because gravel moves very close to the shoreline. If you have fine sands, you must create very long groins because you must reach at least the breakers line So you create a big impact. One problem is the geometry of these groins. This is an area, this is not a groin, it's a jetty, but the function is the same. This is an area without any sediment transport because it's a bay. Nevertheless, you see the beach is wider here and narrow here. The reason is that waves are diffracted from this point and they create a current in this direction, but they are reflected here and they create sediment moving in this direction. The same you have here, not very far. This oblique groin needs to be protected, this protection, because reflected waves probably, I have not been there yet, but probably this is what they do. You can have permeable groins. They are spaced 50%, 30-50%. They are quite effective in in the Baltic area. They are very frequent and they work quite well. We do not have them in the Mediterranean. We had the one only in the 60s, but we have no information on its efficiency. When you have a groin, you have to transform it in an urban area. You must not have only a coastal structure. You must allow people to walk, and you are quite expert in this because the few groins I've seen here in Australia, all of them are well designed and useful for the people, for fishing, and so. In a new project we are starting now, I designed this. This is a groin with a ramp for people moving with wheelchairs to enter the sea until they can swim. And this was built because I had to make a asymmetrical shape because stronger waves come from here. So I had to reduce the reflection here. And I had to create this lobe. And I added this ramp because during summer, waves come from the opposite side. So you are protected here during summer to enter the sea. We have problem of safety and authorization because for us these are coastal structures and nobody is allowed to go on. So the problem is who is responsible for any accident. So we have to solve this problem. You can create different shape and different reflectivity. This is a steel groin which was too reflective, and after that, after they realized it was too reflective, they opened these windows to allow part of the energy to go on the other side, and they could stabilize the coast in this way. You have groins which reduce their height so that they intercept sediment, but they don't trap too much on the beach. So you can modulate the length of the beach with a higher groin and go down lower, and this part of the groin is overflooded but during waves, so it has a limited effect. We are now testing a lot of submerged groins. They are not very frequent worldwide. There is, in the literature, we have one in South Africa, and we are building many of them. The concept is this. Sediment moves near the bottom. Why I have to construct an elevated and emergent structure to trap sediment moving only on the seafloor? So it's enough I built a submerged groin, let's say 1 meter high or 2 meter high, and I trap sediments and I make the near shore to rise, and with this rise I have the beach which expand. After that, sediment can overpass the structure instead of passing out of the tip, and I lose the sediment offshore, and I have seen rip currents offshore. In this way, I have sediments depositing in this side. If sediment comes from this area, I have a ramp here with sediments. When they overpass, there is a reduction of velocity here because I have a higher water. So I have deposition also on the other side. So I don't have the sawtooth shape of the beach. The beach expands on both the sides.